cold for days. I ain't like an ocean wave that flows for days. I don't associate with frozen lakes. I faced a whole lot of roadblocks, but I don't stop, I'm more like a robot. I've been winning and killing it, finger on the whole stop. Any minute I'll get it, the kid is getting closer. So hot, but I told ya, hoes don't talk if you don't want smoke. Cause I got more than a stove top with stone dropping on top of it though, cause I'm not gonna fold.
This looks a lot better than cardboard boxes.
And I've been seen in all of my glory.
You're in a room with cardboard boxes?
That's where I'm at. That's what we have here. Cardboard boxes full of aircraft parts. I'm still technically at work, but
never slacking, the passion could be felt. In fact, every fraction of me's real. Fast on the fucking track, fast in these seatbelts. Gas in your fucking ass, now I need a refill. I can sleep you like a seat failed and defeat you while I re-kill and delete you like an email.
Oh yeah.
Review of the details, I'm a G with a GQ like a
last time I
female.
saw you,
Man,
you
cause
were
can I see
sitting
the
at
flow?
your
If
computer.
it was an animal, it better be a girl. Surface like a centipede, that suddenly will grow. Cause every
Yeah,
single bit of every
you
centimeter
maybe
shows.
sitting at a desk?
Or should I be a ghost?
right
Cause
here.
I got the energy that shouldn't be approached. For my team, I'm the coach.
yeah.
More than a leader, I'm dreaming the most when I'm woke.
In the living room.
Mage, nice to see you here. Josie?
Yeah, I'm here and trying not to let my monster drive me insane because she is not my mom anymore.
I see the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
But, yeah, and my neighbor's monster because they're playing Fortnite together. Oh, my God.
Now this is just me and
Yeah,
my
I'm
natural
just gonna walk
habitat,
away
planning
from
a
you
blessing
two.
and
I give
not
up.
just to relax and
Give
then
up
laugh
with
that you
children.
cannot manage to vanish that catching you lacking and stabbing your atoms up. I'll stick a dagger like where your blood is at abracadabra cause I'm finna vanish your cash and you gotta like that's a fact. How about that? That's a proposition, you better stop and listen. You can't knock my vision. I got pocket vision. They won't be locked in prison because of optimism. I gotta kill it cause a minute to my watch and taking another feeling when I'm killing off the competition. Cause I've been sitting on top of them shitting like a flock of pigeons. They wanna stop my mission because I'm ripping every composition.
The clouds have opened up, and I've been seen in all of my glory. Suddenly, the clouds have opened up, and I've been seen in all of my glory. Suddenly.
Barbara, nice to see you.
Just believe and work for it. Watch what'll happen. Stop the wishing.
Thanks for sending in your story, by the way.
Start the mission. Yeah.
Alright, A2 Dope, turn up the echo, and I know I'm good for one of them old-ass funky mojo beats, alright? So let's set it off. J with the pulse of the kettle. Set it up and quick suck a dick cause you're fucking soft and unsafe. J ain't witty. When you was bowling with your dad, your mom let me suck a titty. Fools always talk shit, get beat. And if I'm outnumbered, there's a 9 in the back seat. Cause when I'm feeling like a Mac Dad, in the trunk I'ma ride, I got weapons that I never had. And I just start
D, that's
gunning
getting
them down.
getting
I'm blasting
long
the
as
crowd
shit.
now, everybody's running around. And there's always them bitches that are screaming, some fools on his back, wishing he were dreaming. If anybody's listening down south, talk shit about the city with my nuts in your wife's mouth. Keep singing on your banjo, cause we don't like that shit where I come from, bro. And just yeah, thought the boy Ice Cube, yo. You kinda sound like very motherfucking man. I love why do you call yourself a nigga, I ask you? That's the only kind of bullshit that you could lay tracks to. Short nappy head motherfuckers, the same sound like you got your beat from a Nintendo game.
Well, bow to your partner.
And bow to the corner.
Something wicked for him.
Then all join hands, circle
We
left.
hit the ace.
Alright guys, sorry I'm late. Sorry everything was off. I just had to fix a whole bunch of shit with my computer to even get this meeting going. I am definitely glad for all of you joining. Everybody, welcome to the Sober Soldier Sundays meeting of Juggalos in Recovery. It happens almost every Sunday at 8:30. I'm not perfect, so if you're watching on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook Live, you can click the link in the description and you can join us here live in the meeting. If you don't feel like being comfortable on camera or being recorded, you can join us after the live stream ends because I'm sure we will still be in here chopping it up. And
Or you can
Tonight
just
I
turn
have
off your
talked.
camera.
Yeah, that too. And you can change your name. You don't have to put your real name. All that good stuff. And we've been trying to pull a bunch of different speakers in, and I was just calling somebody who's in my network that I look up to that has become a good friend of mine over the years to vent about stuff, and he offered to run a meeting or to speak for a meeting, and he spoke plenty of times. But you know, the longer you stay sober, the more different your story becomes, and the more things in life you go through that you overcome in sobriety, and you overcome these defects and these shortcomings you have, and you learn to deal with life on life's terms and handle things that used to baffle us. You know what I mean? And this is one of the busiest, hardest working guys I know that always has a lot of pots on the burners, like myself, and he has a lot of wisdom. And I was about, I don't know, 18 months sober, maybe 2 years sober, going down a wormhole of gathering videos, and I found this video of sober, I don't know, 2015, 16, with a Juggalos and Recovery flag on a gathering tape. And I was like, Juggalos and Recovery, I've been repping that shit. I didn't even know that was a thing. And then it popped up, and it's COVID, and you know, they're asking for, you know, if you're a Juggalo in recovery, shout yourself out and say how long you got and send me a video. And I got put in this little video on ICP's party peep show or something during COVID. And I was like, dope. And then they used to have online meetings, and then they ain't have them. So I kept asking about online meetings. Next thing you know, Ty, Chris, a couple guys behind the scene got together and started making the Zoom meetings again. And I didn't know if I would ever be comfortable sober going to the gathering, but I started doing these Zoom meetings and started to get to know that there is other sober juggalos in the scene. And my first gathering of my life, I'm 3 years sober, and I get to meet sober Chris and a bunch of other good guys in the flesh. And I felt at home and comfortable and at peace, even though there was all types of stuff going on around me. I knew I had support there. And ever since then, everything just keeps growing and changing. And with that, I will give you the founder and the president of Juggalos in Recovery, Sober.
Thanks, D.
You're
I appreciate those very kind words. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't done a speaker meeting in a very long time, but I have told my story many, many times over the years. Um, but to tell my story at a speaker meeting for the first time, and probably since the first time I spoke, I'm actually nervous. I noticed it about 20, 30 minutes ago. Um, Only because I haven't done it in so long. So, for those of you who do not know me, I go by Sober, but uh, Frank is my name. I have been sober since July 5th of 2013. Uh, Before that, I was in the military. I did almost 6 years in the Air Force. I joined the military at age 17. Um, I was stationed in Alaska and southern New Mexico. And while I was in, I deployed twice, once to Africa and once to Iraq. Um, and then before that, my childhood, I was, I didn't have a very nice childhood. I, my mother, my biological mother, who I lived with till I was 8.5, dealt with bipolar and a lot of mental illness and ups and downs and medication. And that time in our society, they were just getting to understand how medications affected people. So she went through a lot of changes dramatically. Um, I remember a lot of times I would come home from school or be up on the weekends by myself, for days and she'd just be in bed the whole time because of what she was dealing with. So like age 7 and up, I was taking care of myself. Um, at 8.5, my mother decided that it would be better for me to live with my little brother, and I moved in with her brother, my mother's brother, and his wife, who ended up adopting me and who had already adopted my little brother. In that household, um, I was mentally and emotionally abused. Um, it was, I was talking to one of my coworkers here, comparing what my childhood was to basic training. And I would much rather go through basic training again than go through what I went through in that house because it was more strict than the military. And I got blamed for everything. My confidence was shit. Everything went to hell in that house. Um, Fast forward through the shitty childhood and running away and being secluded and homeschooled in an abusive household. Um, Joining the military was interesting for a very sheltered person. Um, I got to experience normal life as very quickly in dealing with how normal people did it. A lot of the guys I hung around with had already been hanging out doing stuff in college and high school and stuff like that, and I was a JRTC guy in high school all 4 years. So I was in drill team and wore my uniform every Wednesday and so on. Um, and then I joined the military after basic. I went to one of my tech school to learn about the airplane I was going to work on was in Texas, and then my second one was in Arizona. I had just bought my truck and we drove to Arizona. I think there was 5 or 6 of us from our class drove. There was like 3 or 4 cars, and we just carpooled all the way across New Mexico to Phoenix, where our next school was. And I had never drank before. Um, I smoked a couple cigarettes, and that was my big rebellion as a teenager was smoking cigarettes. It wasn't a regular thing. It was whenever I get my hands on them. Then drove and we crossed the border of New Mexico from Texas, and we stopped for the night, and the legal aged guys were starting to drink, and they offered me some. I was like, you know what? I'll try one. And I believe that first night I had a beer, and it was a Corona, and it was nasty. I never could stand the taste of beer. Um, and That was it. The first night, I don't even think I finished that first beer. I just moved on. And then the next night, we had just crossed into Arizona, I believe, or about to cross into Arizona. And we stopped for the night. And the whole day I was swearing up and down I wasn't going to drink again and blah, blah, blah. And that's where the vicious cycle started. Um, I I remember looking at the clock on the cable box. Now, mind you, this is back in 2006. Yeah, 2006. So this was before streaming was big and YouTube was huge, and we still had flip phones that were cool. Razors had just come out. Well, not just come out. They'd been 4 or 5 years old at that point. Maybe, I don't know. But anyways, it was a different day and age back then. So in the hotel room, there was a cable box. I remember looking at it, and it was like 9 o'clock at night. And I was in the room without the alcohol, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go see what the guys are doing. And I walked into that room, and I was like, okay, I want 3 shots, no chaser. And one of the guys was like, okay. And that was, I took 3 shots to Captain Morgan, my second time drinking, no chaser, didn't puke. They made me mix drinks. I remember it was at least, oh, it's been so long. 2 or 3 more mixed drinks and probably a couple more shots, and then I started drinking another Corona. And then I remember looking at the clock again, and it was 9:30. I plowed through alcohol that night. I don't remember anything after 9:30. I woke up the next morning laying in my own puke. Um, some of the guys had taken pictures of me laying in my own puke. They tried to be nice and move me out of it, and I would just roll back into it. Um, it was a whole thing. I was hungover for the whole rest of the day. Showed up to the Air Force Base completely hungover. Um, and then I don't think I drank any more in tech school. Then I went to Alaska and I started partying here and there, getting drunk here and there. Um, I got to a point where I felt I had control over my alcoholism because I told myself and I tried very hard and I did pretty decent at keeping my word. I would only drink on the weekends, on Friday and Saturday night. I would sober up Sunday and go to work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and then drink after work on Friday. And I did that for a couple years. But anytime I picked up alcohol, school day or not, I blacked out or passed out. I could not stop myself. Very few times, and there was a short time when I was stationed in southern New Mexico where I had control over my drinking, where I could get to one stage and just stay there. Um, that didn't last long. And I went overboard and kept going overboard. I ended up getting kicked out of the military for smoking spice, K2, whatever you want to call it. I was just chasing the next high. I never did any hard drugs. Um, while I was out, once I got out of the military in 2011, September, um, I had already been through my first divorce. I was starting my life over. It was my first taste of real freedom. Um, and that freedom consisted of me drinking every night. Or not every night, every weekend. And eventually it led to um, me and my girlfriend at the time going out camping in Illinois, where I was living at for the 4th of July. Um, there was some family things she had to do before we like went out and camped and drank and whatever and had fun. So we went to that thing. I pre-gamed with a couple like the strawberry Ritas. This was like when they first came out. I loved them. They were sweet, they were tasty, and they got me pretty tipsy if I drank them fast enough. And then after the family thing, went back to the campsite with her, my best friend at the time, um, and I proceeded to finish off just about all of the alcohol that we had on camp. Um, had quite a few strawberry Rita things, and then finished off a bottle of rum. Don't remember much of it. I blacked out like I usually did. All I do remember is waking up next to the campfire in ripped jeans and my combat boots with no shirt on, and I looked at my truck, and my girlfriend at the time was in there, and she was scared shitless of me, and I didn't know why. And then the next thing I remember, I was driving back to my apartment. Um, I saw police lights in the rearview mirror. I got pulled over and I got booked for a DUI, domestic assault, and speeding 98 in a 55. Um, I didn't remember anything. The cop who booked me was saying that I was basically going in and out of consciousness. I was like, I was basically bipolar as I was getting booked. I was saying that I hated her, then I loved her, and I hated her, and I loved her. Um, it was I was very unstable. Then I woke up in jail the next day, and one of the guys in the jail cell woke me up for lunch. I had slept through breakfast. Um, when I got booked, it was like 4 a.m. and I did a breathalyzer at the station. Mind you, this is probably at least 2, 3 hours after I had stopped drinking. My blood alcohol level was still I think it was a 0.14 or something like that. It was ridiculous. Um, while I was in jail, luckily I was put in a jail cell where um, the people in there kind of kept to themselves, were nice enough. They weren't too crazy. The jail down the hallway, we heard making noise all of the time. And I probably would have had a very different experience in that jail cell. Um, there was a lot of things that I figured out and I've looked back on and seen the signs that of everything that was given to me in that moment when I was in jail. A lot of things in my life lined up. I don't know what any of you believe, and I'm not pushing this on to anybody. I wouldn't say I believe in fate, but I believe in a higher power who has every possible aspect and decision of mine planned or figured out to know which path I can take, good and bad. And I was that point, my DUI, I had a choice. It was to get my shit together or go down a road where I would never come back from. And luckily for me, because my dad, my grandfather, the few people that refused to get pushed away, I went to AA 2 weeks out of jail. I only stayed in jail for like 48 hours. It was like 2 full days. Um, but I got out of jail. I white knuckled it for 2 weeks, and I finally went to an AA meeting. I did AA for a while. Um, I plowed through the steps 1 through 9 in like the first month and a half. Um, went and played pool at a bar a month in. I was testing my limits, trying to figure it out because I refused to live scared my whole life. Um, and I was doing okay. Then I had to start working on myself because I realized just how shitty of a person I had become, how many people I had hurt, how many people I had been using, um, how much humility I lacked, um, how much ego I had, how much pride I refused to let go of. And now, looking back 10 years later, it's almost 10 and a half years later, being sober, not touching a drop of alcohol, I have come a very long way. And there's a few things that I've learned that I hope everyone who's in sobriety or dealing with trauma, and my story personally is started with addiction. If most people only hear the addiction part and how I recovered from my addiction. What I figured out after I got sober was the addiction was not my problem. Is that I was never taught how to heal. I went through some fucked up shit growing up. I don't think anybody in this room knows, and I believe I've said it on some of my videos, so someone might know. But this is the first time in a public forum I'm going to say this. I have been raped, and I had to heal from that, from people that I trust. But I was never taught how to heal from anything, emotional, physical, sexual, mental, any kind of trauma. So I had to learn those things that I should have been taught as a child. And that has been an ongoing process. In the beginning of my sobriety, I would jump from obsession to obsession because I didn't know how to deal with normal life. At one point, I was obsessed with Ninja Turtles, and then it was playing pool, and then it was the Red Sox, and it was like the wind changed, and I had a new obsession. And these are all things that I love, and at one point in my life, I really cared about them. But it was because those were the only things I knew that gave me comfort, because I wasn't comfortable in my own skin. And that's because I wasn't healed. I didn't know how to look in the mirror and be like, Frank, you know what? You're a pretty decent guy. I didn't know how to do that. And recently I've been going through something that has caused me to take a couple back steps and relearn how to love myself. Going through sobriety, going through trauma, learning to heal is something that will happen every day. You will learn how to heal. There will be traumatic events throughout your whole life. And all of this is okay as long as you have the tools to deal with it. For me, I got to a point, and I've talked to quite a few people in this room about this. 2020 was a very dark year for me, and it was for a lot of people. Um, I had came home from one of my deployments. I had already, before that deployment, I had moved out of my apartment. I came home and I ended up living with my girlfriend at the time, which If I was healed enough and self-aware enough, I would have seen the signs or listened to the people that actually, had better eyesight than me when it comes to dealing with people. But I was stubborn and thick-headed, and the person I was living with caused PTSD from my childhood in the military to overflow. And it wasn't just that person, it was a mixture of things that happened. And I got to a point where I was in my storage unit. I have a pretty decent sized storage unit where I was doing woodworking and stuff like that. I
Frank froze. Give him a second. He'll come back. He's overseas, so the internet's weak.
I'm back.
There.
Um, can you all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. You was in your storage unit woodworking, and then you went robot.
All right. So when I was in my storage unit, I had gotten to a very low point in my life. The anxiety and PTSD was overwhelming, and I had my 45 in front of me loaded, and instead of taking action, I decided to call one of my best friends in Illinois, and he stayed on the phone with me till I was in better headspace. I called the veterans hotline and got I started talking to a psychiatrist and a therapist almost instantly. Um, and I got put on medication, which keeps me level-headed for my PTSD. And I had to start working on myself on a deeper level. I I have gone through many different layers of myself, some that I didn't even know existed. A lot of layers that existed that I didn't want to deal with and wanted to forget about. Those layers are always the scariest. But something that I do when it comes to being afraid is I don't let the fear control my life. I don't let the fear control who I am or what I do for myself. Fear is a big thing when you're working on yourself. I'm sure a lot of us in here can understand when you deal with something bad for so long, it becomes your only thing that you know. So when something good happens, it feels wrong. And the only reason why that is because we don't know any better. And if we let fear of change and the unknown control us, we'll run back to the only thing we know. And if you look back at addiction, if you dealt with addiction or trauma response, both of those are the same thing. It's a vicious cycle of running back to the only thing you know. Look at all the shitty relationships that you've been through. I've been through plenty of them. I'm going through my second divorce as we speak. It is not something I want controlling my life. And when I finally made the decision to get this divorce that I'm going through, it took a little bit and it took a really in-depth therapy session to figure out why I chose the woman I married. And it was because she reminded me of my abusive adopted mother. And those were wounds that I refused to open. Those were that was trauma that I refused to deal with once I got sober. I wanted to hate her for my whole life. That was my goal. And I can't do that. The amount of pain that I got put through growing up came back and caused more pain in my life because I refused to heal from it. Because I didn't know what type of person I would be if I didn't have that pain to define me. And now I've looked back at how I've dealt with friendships and any type of other relationship I've had over the last 5 years, and they've all been impacted because I've let this one thing define who I am or how I felt, and I refuse to move on from it. And now, even 10 years into sobriety, I'm having to do deep dives on myself to let this go finally. Once I let this go, it's an it's just a daily thing. Deal with whatever happened in the day and move on. I'll finally be free. But right now I'm not. Because not only do I have to heal from the trauma of the past, now I have to deal with the trauma that's happened within the last 5 years. Because it's multiplied. Because I didn't allow myself to accept that that pain does not define who I am. So to everybody in this room, and anyone who ends up listening to this, there's a few things that help me heal and change my mindset that I want you to hear now. One, no one will ever put you first. No one should ever put you first except yourself. You are the only one who will be able to take care of you. Two, a lot of us have hard times dealing with change. The only thing in life that is inevitable is change. And if you don't like something, or something bothers you, something offends you, don't think about changing that thing. Think about what you need to change in yourself to accept that thing for what it is. Sometimes you just have to accept things the way they are and let go. Move on. Don't let it impact your life. I've heard plenty of different sayings. The one that sticks out in my head right now is, if it's not going to affect you in 5 years, don't spend more than 5 seconds on it. That is powerful. Yeah, the Illmind 8 outro is powerful. Nope. I think, oh, one last big one. And then I push this in this community especially. But it doesn't matter where you are in the world. It doesn't matter how old you are, what gender you claim. I don't care about any of that. If you need someone to talk to, if you need a friend, if you need someone who's actually going to care and listen and give you actual helpful advice, this is the community for it. I've answered calls at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning because people need me. This community, what we've created, what I started, is about love, stuff that we don't know anything about getting sober. This is about an unconditional love that is unbreakable because there's no, I'll give you this if you give me that. There's no anything. It's the only thing that we do here is take care of each other and call each other out on our bullshit because it's the only way we're going to get better and be happier. And if you have a problem with that by hearing those words, then go look in the mirror because you got some work to do. I think that's all I got, D. So
I had some questions for you, but I think you've answered a majority of them that I had written down. So
well,
let me just run
ask them
run through
anyways. I
this.
might be able to go into more detail if you want.
We'll just do a little short answers running through this real quick. So I kind of in your story heard it, but can you? I know for me, like when I look back in hindsight with long term sobriety, having 5 years, that I could see my alcoholic and addiction tendencies before a drink or a drug. When you're looking back, do you see like some things you were doing alcoholically or addictly that normal people don't do before you went into alcoholism and addiction? Like for me, like I would hoard fucking food and sodas and steal shit and manipulate and lie way before I drank and drug and crossed that line of no return.
So there's always been those tendencies in my life. It's just how in the beginning, I didn't know how to use them productively. So I might have stole some shit. I might have overdid it or started getting obsessive with other things. Um, Sometimes it was good, sometimes it was bad. The way I see it now is everyone in the world has these types of things that they get obsessed about, but it's how they use that obsession. And if it has a negative impact on their life, that's when it becomes a problem. It's about what's that word that we all hate to learn about? Um, Fuck, I can't remember it. It's been so long since I said it. Um, Basically, managing it and not being obsessed with letting the obsession take over.
Balance. Okay, and then I was gonna ask, so when was it in your recovery that you decided to start Juggalos in recovery? And then to follow up, how many times over the years, because I know it was pretty much just you for a long time, did you persevere instead of giving up on Juggalos in recovery? Because I know you were like a lone wolf for a long time trying to do this in the community.
So the history of Juggalos in Recovery is a pretty simple one. Back in 2014, so I got sober in 2013, July of 2013. Juggalos in Recovery became a Facebook group on May 14th of 2014. So it was almost a year into my sobriety where it came to. Um, and that came to because I was in some Juggalo chat room chatting with Juggalos on Facebook, and I was like, you know what? I was talking to one other guy, and I was like, God damn it! Can you guys? Okay, you're
Yeah,
still
we can
there.
hear you. You're good.
Um, so I was talking to one guy that I was like, he was in recovery too. He was dealing with a lot of mental health issues, and I was like, we should start a group. He told me to take it and run with it. He didn't have the mental capacity to do anything with it. And in one of my videos on the Sober the Juggalo YouTube channel, I've called him out by name, and thanking him for giving me the opportunity to do it. And then so since 2014, it just started out as a simple Facebook group, and if I remember correctly, The very first name of Juggalos in Recovery was Recovery in the Juggalo World, is what I had come up with, and then it's just slowly progressed into Juggalos in Recovery. And there has been many a times, whether I had people helping me or not, where I was sick of bullshit, sick of the comments, because the Juggalo community at one point was a very negative place to be. And there was a lot of people who judged. And for all the OGs and the people who actually understand what the Juggalo community is about, it's about us outcasts, us people who have been pushed to the side so all these other motherfuckers can accomplish their goals while we're shit on. We are the community that's not supposed to judge. We're the community that's supposed to care and love everything and everyone. And yet the Juggalo community became very toxic for a while.
Okay, well that's a good segue into the next question. It's kind of a three-parter. So, can you name a mental health issue, a shortcoming, a defect that was really hard for you that you overcame in sobriety, and one or two that you've had in sobriety and with Juggalos in recovery, and like how you overcame that shortcoming? My brother is looking for his gummies I keep for him. That is my autistic brother. Are you there, Frank? He is in my bedroom looking for the gummies I keep for him. Sober, you ain't there. Where are you at? He's overseas, so it's glitchy.
Yeah, it's glitchy, especially this time of night. Sorry.
All right, did you hear the question?
No.
Two part. Mental health shortcoming or defect that was fucking up your recovery that you overcame, and then your most fulfilling experience in sobriety and with Juggalos in recovery, and then I have one more question after that, and then we'll open a room.
So the mental. I think the thing that I've struggled with the most is feeling incompetent. Not feeling like I'm enough. And that goes with getting Juggalos in recovery off the ground. That goes with anything I've ever put my mind to. Usually, 99% chance the reason why I gave up was because I didn't feel like I could do it. Whether I could or not, my brain didn't matter. My brain didn't care. The way I felt stopped me from accomplishing those things. It's gotten easier to put those internal words to rest, but it's only possible to do that now because I have a support system that gives me the feedback that I need to continue growing. And I'm sure you can speak on many times I've come to you and be like, I can't fucking do this anymore, man. Like, this shit's bullshit. I'm done. I'm walking away. I'm closing it out. I'm canceling shit. I'm just, no, that's not
I'm
how life
surprised by
works.
your answer. I'm surprised by your answer because I would have thought it was the control thing, but trying to control
Surprisingly,
everything.
well, see the control thing. I would say that's probably a very close second, but
But that
I've
stems from what you said, so
exactly, and the control thing for me now, in the beginning, yeah, the control thing was a big issue, but I learned how to adjust my expectations when it came to control. I found out early on, deciphering the Serenity Prayer, that the only thing I ever have control over is my actions, my words, my reactions. That's it. End of story. No ands, ifs, or buts about it. I cannot control the color of the sky. I cannot control these actions or words. I cannot control who comes to meetings. I cannot control anything. All I can do is put the work in, and that's it.
And that's a perfect segue for the next. It's a two-parter. So, and everybody in the room is going to like this because this gives you an opportunity
Well,
to
I haven't
join the
answered
movement.
the second question yet. My
But yeah, most fulfilling experience.
yeah. So and it's in sobriety or Juggalos and recovery or
Well,
both?
yeah, with either sobriety
Okay.
or with the Juggalos in recovery.
Early on in my sobriety, I've talked about this story before. One of the things that really made me realize how powerful words are, especially in meetings like this. I started a couple new meetings at my home group in Illinois, and one of the guys there just kept showing up, and I think he earned like his 3-year coin or something like that. And he pulled me aside after the meeting and was like, "You know what, Frank? I want to let you know how much of an impact you've had on my life, on my sobriety." And all I did was treat him as a human being. I just talked in meetings like I would any other meeting. I wasn't trying to show off. I wasn't trying to blow people's minds. I was just being who I was. And that had an impact on who he is. And that was powerful to me. And I think Juggalos in recovery specifically, I feel there's been many moments like this, and they're all at the gathering. The amount of acceptance I get personally from the people at the gathering, for one being a juggalo who's in sobriety, and two being a part of Juggalos in recovery, is unreal. My very first gathering, I ran meetings and it was accepted. I was offered drugs and alcohol. I was like, no, thank you. I'm in sobriety, or I'm not an addict. And the people who offered me shit apologized for offering me shit for not knowing my story, which is unfucking real to me. That
Same
shit does not
experience with my
happen in the real
person.
world. And then I think my favorite, it was a shitty placement, kind of sorta, but D, your first gathering when we were up in the parking lot, that gathering was very impactful for me on how much we impact the Juggalo community. Because we had thousands of people come through our tent. We were right there, right next to the ticket booth. And it was eye-opening to me. And normally at the gathering, I would lose my voice from singing along at concerts and yelling all the time and whatever. I lost my voice for talking to people because I talked to so many fucking people at that gathering and helping them and just giving them advice and hearing everybody's stories. It was ridiculous. That's probably one of my most powerful memories of Juggalos in recovery is that right there, is how much of
Yeah,
an impact we had that gathering.
I'll never forget that, the gathering of dreams and meeting all y'all in the flesh and the apologies from people offering me drugs. And I'm like, so apologetic. I'm like, don't worry about it. And then the butterfly landing on me and you while we're speaking about some real shit. All right,
Yep.
and that lead me into the next question, which y'all will like because y'all can be a part of this. It's up to you if you choose to. It is posted everywhere on our website. But can you state just like the dream goal and mission statement for the futures of Juggalos in recovery? And I don't want to call it a Juggalo in recovery big book, but the mission for your second book, the JIR Step Storybook, not a big book. You can call it, I don't know, a Phoenix Rising book, whatever you want to call it, since that's our thing. Um, but if you wanted to write a story and be an impact in this community, you have an opportunity in this next book coming up. And I just want to know your mission of the second book and dream, goal, and mission for the futures of Juggalos and Recovery.
All right. So for the book, I've already gotten 2 stories submitted and accepted. Do you mind if I call you out? It's fine. Barbara was one of them who submitted her story. Nate was the other one. They will both be in the book. The goal for this book, the title of the book is Stop Being Afraid of Yourself. And if any of you have read my first book, it's basically a very loose guideline and very loose steps and things that you can do, whether you're in sobriety or dealing with someone who's an addict, on what they're going through, what you're going to go through, what they're going through, what your options are to go. Like it's just, it covers the bare minimum. This book goes into details about how to heal. And it's my goal with this book is to every tool that I've used or have heard other people use to go into this book and be mass produced so anybody who needs these tools will have access to them. So they don't have to learn the way that I learned, the hard way. And the reason why I wanted to include the stories in the back of the book was because the main part of the book is just my perspective on everything. Getting other people's perspectives and other people's stories help the person reading understand that they're not alone, that they're not the only one who's ever gone through this. So with that, the goal for the book is just to spread healing and give the tools out to the people who need them or want them. The goals for Juggalos in Recovery, I have very, very large goals that maybe someday we'll achieve. I think one of the things that I see that can possibly happen in the next year or two is having specific Juggalos and Recovery events where it's kind of like when AA or NA go out and do a camp or whatever for the weekend. I feel like Juggalos and Recovery could do that as well. I feel like we can get a bunch of Juggalos together and just go out camping, have a good time, play some games, hang out, cook out, listen to music, annoy everybody who's around us for the next 2 miles, and just do our thing. Maybe cause some chaos, roll some Martin's List games. I think those Juggalos and Recovery events are on the horizon. How far in the horizon, I don't know, but the ultimate mission for Juggalos and Recovery is to do exactly what we've been doing. Create a community that's safe for everyone, community that doesn't judge, that's just here to help. We're here to build each other up, not tear each other down. The rest of the world does that enough for us.
Oh, Frank, appreciate hearing your story. It is definitely drastically different than the last couple times I hear it. And I mean, I know you on a closer basis than everybody, but with that, the room is open. Raise your hand and unmute yourself.
I am
Take
taking
turns. Be
questions.
respectful. You're good. And
Yeah.
Frank, you're co-host, so you can just do your thing. Yep.
Okay. I am taking questions, so if anyone has questions, feel free to ask. Nate, go ahead.
Yeah, Frank, this is I think the first time I've heard your story, to be honest, like all the way through and whatever. So that's super fucking cool to hear. The couple things. So if it wasn't for Juggalos in Recovery, like I would never have come back like really into the family. Like I never really left. Like I'd go to concerts and stuff, but I never went to the gathering because I was trying to be sober, trying to get my shit together. And once I found out you guys were there, is when I came back, and it's definitely different, even from when I went the first couple times to the first couple gatherings. People are a lot more open open armed and supportive. There's people that are actively using, they're cheering us on, right? Like they're not like quote unquote addicts or whatever, they're just using recreationally, and they cheer us on, which is mind blowing. And the love that I get from Juggalos and at the gathering and Juggalos recovery is irreplaceable. And then the second thing is like kind of blew my mind a little bit that I was sexually assaulted a lot when I was a little kid, and I don't think I've ever really like processed it. I do my steps every year. I do like an annual house cleaning of my shit. It keeps me level headed. I do a thing called back to basics. And you blast through the steps of AA, and it gives you this relief. And I've never put that like in my steps, and I'm currently going through it, so I'm gonna have to put that on there and kind of do some processing on that. But the that happens to so many people, and nobody ever really talks about it or processes it. So I appreciate you saying that, because you're definitely not alone there. Whatsoever. So, and then I guess the question would be, do you because in your story you said you used to go to AA. Is that something you still do? Do you still go to your meetings? Or because, not all of us go to meetings. Not all of us like it. I really like my meetings, but do you still frequent yours?
Um, I for a very long time I went to meetings on a regular basis. Um, the environment of AA where I'm at now is not my favorite, so I don't go hardly as often as I maybe should. Um, but if I'm ever going through where I originally got sober at in Illinois, I always go to my home group. Um, but one thing I have realized is I like our meetings better, and this isn't biased because I created it or whatever. This has nothing to do with my ego. It has to do with the people who come to them. They're more accepting, they're less judgmental. The people I got sober around and the people in AA, not everyone is this way, but at least in the meetings that I've gone to, um, I feel like they're being extremely judgmental, and I don't appreciate that. So I'd rather surround myself with people who are not judgmental. And I don't look down on anybody, and I don't believe anyone in our community ever looks down on anybody who goes to any other type of meetings. Um, there's meetings out there for the people who need them, and if you go to them, good for you. You found something that works for you. Share your story. Share how those meetings help, and maybe you'll be able to help someone else. Because I mean, I started in AA, and now I'm basically at this point purely Juggalos in recovery, but it's only because I found my people that I'm comfortable to be around.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree with that 100%. Like, I do my weekly AA meeting coupled with my Wednesday one that I do for you guys, and like I do face a lot of judgment in that AA meeting. Like, if I were to bring up Juggalos in recovery, like, there's a lot of judgment from like old timer AA people.
mhm.
But my group that I'm in now, it's pretty cool. I still go. It helps me through the steps, things like that. But yeah, I absolutely agree. Like, find what works for you. That's why I love Juggalos Recovery, because not everybody does the fucking same program. It's all I learn from everybody too. So yeah, agree.
Also, for anyone who doesn't know, Nate is our guy who does all our social media, all our posts, everything online. He has been working his ass off for us, and on this public forum, Nate, I want to thank you because you deserve all the appreciation that we all can give you because you have increased our reach immensely.
Yeah, it's crazy. I bumped into this guy at my first gathering and asked him for napkins, and he said he was sober. And I started talking about Juggalos and recovery and over here, over there, and then next year he's kicking it with us, and he is the online ninja, bro, that can get everything done. He is a godsend from the carnival put in our lives, from our higher powers to help grow the movement. He is fucking amazing. Me and Frank talk about you a lot when you're not around.
Yes, yes.
See,
There,
God.
you said something like that too, Frank. When I hear this types of stuff, it's hard for me to hear it, but it's like the coolest shit. Like I do it for y'all, you know what I mean? And to hear thank you, that's awesome. But I do it for you guys. I love y'all.
we love you too, Nate. And there may or may not have been some secret discussions about how to show our appreciation. So
You'll find out at the
you,
gathering. You'll find out at
yeah,
the gathering. How about that? You gotta wait for the cat to get out of the bag by then. Just wait till the gathering. You're gonna love it.
All right, man. I look forward to it. I fucking love
I'm not letting Frank let it leak anything. You gotta fucking wait.
Hell yeah.
I hate
Right on,
keeping
brother.
secrets, man. Shit's bullshit.
Too bad. This will be his best gathering memory ever. So you're not gonna
Yeah,
ruin it.
I know.
You can wait till fucking August.
Hell yeah. I'm excited. Fucking hey, guys. I love y'all.
Love you too, Nate. Anybody else got any questions, comments, any topics?
If not, I'm gonna
James, go
end the
ahead.
recordings.
Hold on, James got something to say. Go ahead, James.
Hey, I just wanted to say thanks for your share, man, and thanks for your service. Appreciate you in this and in the country too, man. Big time. Appreciate you. Glad I found this, man. That's all I
Yeah,
want to
me
say.
too. I appreciate that, brother.
All right, man.
Ryan, go ahead.
Hey guys, I just want to let you guys know I appreciate this group and what you guys do for the Juggalo community. I respect you guys like a lot. I'm 5 years sober. I ended up making a mistake, brought a female home from the gathering, and ended up because you still have triggers. Even after you get sober, you still have all these triggers. And it's not easy. And I just wanted to say I respect you guys.
I appreciate that, brother. Good job on the 5 years. Keep it going. You'll be all right.
Appreciate it.
Josie, you've been quiet.
All right, I'm gonna end the recording so we can get unfiltered. Some people don't like to be on the recording.
That's fine. I'll still be here. I'm going to walk back over